Hi, Pedro here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about a simple framework that will help you with specific things about your business and specific things about your marketing. Okay, so this is a model that I call tree model, and the reason why I call tree model is because we're going to start from the root upwards in order for us to solve certain problems in our business. And the problems that we're talking about here, it's not problems, but what I'm talking about here is basically the model and the way that you serve your clients in terms of like what are the transformation that you provide to your clients and what everything happens in between and whether or not it needs some refinement. And again, what we want is a very simple approach to all of this, and sometimes we get caught up in all these technicalities and complexities without necessarily speaking needing it. And so this model probably will make everything a bit more streamlined and easy to grasp, not only for you or primarily for you, but also then for your clients as well. And as I said before, a consequence of this model will also be, through the same process, basically, you will be able to um, know very simply what to talk about in your content that is resonant for the people that you want to attract, and in a way that is going to be very easy to understand what you're going to talk about today that you didn't talk about yesterday, and without repeating yourself necessarily speaking. So basically it will also serve as a framework for content creation as well. So let's take a look at the model itself. So this is the model that I'm talking about here. I gave it the name tree model exactly because we have the roots and then we're going to go to the top. And at the top, that's actually what we're going to start. So we're going to reverse engineering everything from the top down to the roots. And at the top, what we're going to have is basically the goal. So we start with the goal in mind in terms of like, what is the goal for you as a business owner, okay, that you want to provide to your clients? What is the transformation that you want them to achieve in terms of like the end goal of that process, right? So that's why we're going to start. So once you have this goal, then we're going to reverse engineering to basically get to the roots, and we're going to start with the first layer of that reverse engineering, which is the problems. So basically you need to define what are the three top problems. We can have more, but let's stick with the three, otherwise this will become very big, and then there's no need to do that because you can always do that at the end. But if you are able to define like the three top problems that is preventing your clients to get to that goal, then you have something that you can start from in terms of like this reverse engineering, because the next step is, if you are clear on the problems, then you're going to be clear on the solutions, and this is the solutions that need to happen for that problem to be solved, which is again part of your process, for then that process to happen in terms of achieving the goal, right? So this solution, you can look at this as sort of like the negating way of talking about the problems. And at the end, I'm going to give you an example, a real example of my own model, my own version of this model rather, for my clients, so it becomes a bit more attainable. But if you follow this model in the way that I'm talking about right now, I'm sure you'll be able to highlight the three top problems that are preventing your clients to get to the goal, and what are the solutions that need to happen for each one of these problems to be solved, right? Now, the solutions themselves are not the actions. This is actually, the actions are actually what's coming after, because we're going to try to define at least three actions, okay, for each one of these solutions to be, a real thing in terms of like them happening as a solution, right? And I'm sure that based on your model, based on your own frameworks and unique methodologies, you already have this in place. Maybe you don't have this streamlined in this way. That's why this model can help you get there. But I'm sure that even if you don't have like everything super well defined, you have an idea, a general idea at least, about like the problems that you can then reverse engineer for the solutions. And then I'm sure there will be some actions that you're already, making or putting in place to get to, to solve these problems, right? But of course, this will become more apparent and more deep and more well constructed if you are super clear on your niche. And again, at the end of the video, I have something for you that probably will help you get there to that deep level of clarity, because it's within that deep level of clarity that all of these things will become even more apparent and easy to solve and easy to basically design a framework for each one of these problems to get to the goal, which again will be part of the methodology. But in any case, this is a simple model that will, will be able to get there, right? So to give you a bit more tangible example, I'm going to give you my example of this model regarding the work that I do, right? So the work that I do is I work with coaches and consultants and educators to get to multi six figures a year. So let's say between if they're stuck below 10 to 20K plus months, this is basically what the goal is, all right, to get to multi six figures a year. And so there are three main problems for them to solve. First of all, they're probably not so clear on the niche, so they have a mushy niche. They don't have, like, the content is not really there, so they have like invisible content, and they are overwhelmed with the delivery for different factors, right? So the solution for each one of these problems is, for the machine niche, we need to find niche to offer clarity. For the invisible content, we need to have engaged audience, because it doesn't matter like so much the number of subscribers or followers that this person has. What it matters is whether or not the audience is engaged. Okay, that's what matters. In our first my first coaching business, I never had like super big numbers, but I had like a very engaged audience, and that's what matters, right? So that's it for this second problem. For the third problem, which is delivery overwhelmed, we need to basically be able to design a scalable client success sort of engine for that overwhelm to disappear, right? And then we have individual, actions in here that we need to tackle, which in this case could be clear your niche. So this is super fundamental, and is part of the things that we're going to talk about today. Then with that niche, we'll be able to design a scalable model, and as a consequence of that, to craft a core offer, okay? Or to redefine a core offer if an offer is already created. And then the same goes for the other pillars. So this is sort of like an example that I just wanted to give you so things can become a bit more tangible. But as I said before, this serves two purposes. One is to be clear more on your model, for you to be able to explain your model, but also to refine certain things about your existing model that you already have. But the next or the second consequence of this, which is like a very cool consequence, and you'll see in a second, is the fact that you'll be able to, out of this model, once you have it created, you'll be able to basically create content that is relevant to what you offer, in a way that people will be engaged with it, and you will never run out of things to say about things that are relevant to your content, right, to your clients, and regarding your content that you want to produce. So for example, take into account that this is all the things that leads to your clients to get to the goal. Everything that is in this model, it will be a theme for you to talk about within your content. For example, you can talk about cleaning your niche. Okay, if you talk about cleaning your niche on a certain video, text, or email, or whatever it may be, this is part and congruent with your model, and you just need to look at the model that you've put together with this framework, and then very easily you'll be able to check one of these things that you want to talk about today. Next day comes, you want to talk about, for example, about generating hot lead assets, or creating assets, okay, for valuable leads and congruent leads to the things that you want to basically sell, and to help them with how to create this, for example, right? But there's other things that you can do with this, which is you may be able to, or you might want, like on a given day, to talk actually about niche to offer clarity, that you'll then pair with crafting your offer. So on the second video, or on a given video, you have like a video that is not only talking about this in isolation, although you can if you want to, but you can talk this in the context of how this relates to crafting your offer. For example, what's the importance of having the niche to offer clarity, in order for you to actually create a compelling offer, okay, for example. Or there might be other ideas for you to content-wise, to just talk about, like, what's the problem of invisible content, or having invisible content. And then there comes another day, and actually you're going to talk about all of this, like in a nutshell, not like in super depth, unless you want to, of course. But you can talk about like all of these things. And then there's another day, and then you're going to talk about like the three top problems, for example, okay, about your niche. And then there comes another day, and you're going to talk about, for example, the three solutions, okay, that you want to briefly talk about for, in this case, an engaged audience, okay. So all of these things, you can have like as many combinations as you'd like to, for you to talk about your, you know, talk about in your content about the way that you serve clients in a way that is actually your point of view of, you know, delivering and creating the transformation that you want to create for your clients. And speaking of transformation, you can also talk just about the transformation if you'd like to, for example, okay. So for example, today what I'm talking about is this. I'm talking about designing a scalable model, okay, in a nutshell. I'm not giving, I'm talking to the extent of what I want to talk about today. But this is what I'm talking about today within this video, okay? So I'm just saying this to give you like a more tangible kind of perception about like everything that I'm saying right now. So, this is the power of this model, which is a very simple thing, but it actually can mean a lot to you in terms of like having this clarity. And speaking of clarity, as I promised in the beginning of this video, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is there's actually a link in the description below that allows you to get a tool that I've built, which is part of the things that I use myself and for the clients, for you to basically get super clear about your niche. Not niche in terms of like the industry that you serve, but to be very clear about your ideal client profile, because it's with that depth of knowledge about that ideal client profile that everything else becomes way easier, because your content will be talked in a way that it's congruent and resonant, very important word, resonant to the clients that you want to attract. And you're not basically guessing what are the things that will stick or don't stick. So the way that the tool works, it's very simple. It's actually a GPT, and basically what the GPT does is it will prompt you with 5 to 6 questions for you to give answers to. And once you give those answers, the GPT will spit out a full report of 8 to 9 pages of everything that you can think of and things that you're not even clear on regarding the people that you want to serve. And then that thing can be immediately used by you for you to tweak your messaging, for you to tweak certain things about your offer, certain things about your content. Up to you how you want to do it. That's actually part of my whole ecosystem. There's a video in that link that will tell you all about it. But the link below will basically give you instructions on how to get this. And I'm sure it will basically, give you, I think, very simple inputs for you to tweak and massage and to improve a lot of things regarding your messaging, so it gets to the people that you want to get your message across. And that's it. So today the video was all about this simple framework approach that perhaps you're going to get a lot of value out of it. And if you want to get that tool, as I said before, just click the link below and all the instructions on how to get it. All right, so I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.